Message to fans of Sonic Paradox animated series Sonic Shorts. It appears the YouTube channel of Sonic Paradox has been hacked and they can no longer access it. With no longer any control over what's being uploaded there, they ask you not to click on any messages or videos from their old YouTube account for the time being. Stick with the official Sonic Paradox website until further notice.
Oh, my head hurts so much.
So, Pontek and Graf, confirmed writing Sonic Boom for the 3DS. What can I say? A match made in heaven, I guess. Yeah, it's quite a match. And we made him pose for that shadow figure last year. Well, guess we'll finally find out how he'll write our favorite anti-hero. Can't wait to...
Rog, can you finally stop talking about Sonic? And then let me talk about Sonic. I barely get to talk here.
Oh.
So, okay. One of the reasons why Sonic fans are so overreactive about a bad game is the fear it'll be a permanent change. A bad game here and there isn't a big deal. Just ignore it. But since the identities and flavours of each game seems to be all over the place, and it seems logical that Sega wants to discover the ultimate Sonic experience, for every new game there's the added worry that this is what all Sonic games will be for a long time. It increases the fear and...
Don't mind me, just continue.
So, it increases the fear and... It increases the fear Sonic fans have whenever there's a game they... dislike because we may never get the games we want, but we'll only get more of this.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I tend to be harsher on Colors and Lost World than on Sonic 06. Everyone already agrees Sonic 06 has issues, and it's not a really relevant direction for Sonic at the moment. While the wisp and the jokes of Colors and the 3D, 2D switching from Unleashed are now everywhere. I see elements returning once again in Sonic Boom as opposed to a new direction.
Yeah, so considering it's the new... hot and trendy direction of Sonic, it's important to take a careful look at the recent Sonic games and understand exactly what are good things about them and what are the specific things that could use some improvement. And of course, there's not much things about them that are good,
Wait, are you talking bad stuff about Sonic Lost World? Hold on a minute, I'll have you know there's some good stuff about Sonic Lost World.
Doctor, Luke's wounds are still...
The parkour and freedom Sonic has to move over walls and platforms way surpasses the stiff and clanky movement Sonic has over environment here and there. By giving you parkour so you can hop and run over walls and stuff, just keeping the action moving. The music is fantastic, although of course that's always with all Sonic games, almost all Sonic games. I mean, they had Richard Jocker for Sonic Cross.
Yeah? Well, Doctor... You're forgetting one important thing.
What's that?
My open wound, you stupid quack doctor! How can a professional doctor make such a stupid mistake?
Don't worry, I'm not a professional. I'm just filling in for my brother. He's a dentist.
Ah, Frobman, now I recognize you. The folks at Sonic City wanted me to apologize to you for how we treated you last time, so my apologies for letting you throw rocks at me.
Alright. Anyways, I'm here to challenge you two guys once again on Sonic Lost World. And anything else.
Alright. Well, yeah, we already admitted the parkour has a lot of potential and the music is catchy, though not entirely Sonic-y. So, anything new?
Take the cylinder level design. It's smart, actually. You like exploring in Sonic Adventure 1, right? Well, you have to admit, it can be frustrating. Moving the camera around and thinking in three-dimensional space. There's always a corner or a hidden pathway you overlook. For people with no experience in 3D gameplay, it's a nightmare. But the cylinders in Lost World would fix that. You get a sense of open areas and exploration because you can walk across the cylinders and get all kinds of different routes, but the direction you need to go remains the same. You go forward at all times.
Yeah, the cylinder does seem to be a clever trick in keeping 3D exploration but making it work in the logic of 2D games. So it is a neat trick in trying to bridge 2D and 3D fans together, I guess. But it reminds me of the articles of this guy called Son Malmström, who wrote a few interesting articles about 2D versus 3D Mario. He mentioned Mario Galaxy and especially Mario 3D Land also tried to bridge 2D with 3D, resulting in the flying planets and floating platforms and fixed camera perspective stuff. So yeah, purely as an attempt to bridge 2D and 3D, it's a smart technique, but as Mr. Malmström stated, and I'm asking now is, why is it necessary to try and combine 2D with 3D? I mean, both Sonic and Mario have at least one new game each year, so why not make one or the other in turns? Because with both Mario and Sonic, the 2D games work on an entirely different level than the 3D games, so much that they're practically spin-offs. 2D is very intense, and 3D is much more, experiencing. Might as well make a Frankenstein monster game out of Mario Golf and Smash Bros. Or something. As I said before, split it up. Proper big budget 2D games and not the sterile, cheap looking and extremely careful stuff like New Super Mario Bros. And Sonic 4, but a big, new, fast adventure with some ambition in it. And a proper 3D game with no weird restrictions and gimmicks. Because although I actually do like Mario 3D Land's attempt at 2D and 3D Marioing, but then again, I'm not a hardcore Mario fan, but yeah. The attempts in melting 2D and 3D Sonic together are annoying me to no end. From Connor's pathetic and pointless 3D cock teasers to these floating shapes that are just boring to me.
Yeah, at first it looks great. I was digging the floating islands in the air, but after a few stages it gets boring, and I could have really used some more solid ground in the stages again. Speaking of which, I could also really use some bandages, Doctor, because I think I'm getting a little drowsy from blood loss.
Cry, baby. I like how it looks like one of those old Mega Drive games, but now in 3D. Getting so many elements to return in it almost feels like this is the first real 3D adaptation of the Mega Drive era. It might be Mario, this perfect blend of old and new.
Yeah, because we were desperately missing Mega Drive levels right after Generations and 5 million incarnations of Seaside Hill. Seriously though, Frobman, can you explain to me why Windy Valley is praised for finally returning Green Hill Zone, unlike, say, actual Green Hill Zone in Generations and Splash Hill Zone and so on?
Right, so Sonic comes from a time where games had limited graphics and designers had to add unique things in order to make their games memorable. Every pixel counted. They had to use their imagination to make everything work.
Yeah, because scientific space station takeovers and high-speed chases with chainsaw-wielding rocket trucks don't require any imagination. They're just the boring things that developers go through every single day on their way to work. Got it. I get the repulsion against the cities and human civilization of Sonic Adventure, but again, why are the worlds of Lost World better than, say, Sonic Heroes?
So something like Green Hill Zone was something we never saw before, in a sense. I mean, you got the green grass and everything, but then you got all those loop-de-loops, those checkered patterns, the giant flowers, and... But then Sonic Adventure came along, with its realism and environments looked like they could fit in with every other game. Okay, Sonic Heroes tried to give a unique design again, tried to go back to, like, classic Sonic games kind of feel, but though it confused itself a bit. Look at Seaside Hill, the checkboards, the rocks with weird shapes, so like, somewhat Sonic-like. Then look at the trees, the sand, the textures. Pretty realistic again. I mean, if you show me the flowers from Green Hill Zone, I tell you where those are from, but if you show me the trees from Seaside Hill, I wouldn't know where that is, because it looks like any tree from anywhere, really. Well, that's the thing, the Sonic games, the sense of identity, and Sonic Lost World gave itself an identity with its level design.
Getting its own identity by cloning Mario and Kirby. But what about Sonic 4 or Generations?
Sonic Generations was an intentional celebration of all Sonic games, with Sonic 4 sort of being one too, so I'm not sure those count. Lost World is the first full-fledged game completely going with it.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought a lot about it myself, actually, and I have two different ideas why Sonic Lost World reminds people so much of the early Sonic games, even though, as far as level themes and sense of realism goes, it makes no sense. Okay, so this is a thing that bothered me for a long time, why so many hate the realistic environments in the 3D games, while the 2D games were pretty realistic too. I mean, there's your depressing cities and stuff. It's a parody, an exaggeration of reality, but hardly this. But then I got into a discussion with some guy who complained Sonic 3 and Knuckles was already way too realistic for a Sonic game. So out of curiosity, I started to study what set that game apart from Sonic 1 and 2 on a stylistic environment level. Okay, so ignore Sonic for a moment. I'll show two extreme examples for a moment. Look at this stage from Bobsy 2. This is pretty much my worst nightmare in a 2D platform game. Completely abstract and just a bunch of colors and shapes. My brain panics when it sees this. Everything is disconnected and doesn't even try to be an actual environment. It's just colors and shapes in its pure form. Well, besides a couple of music instruments. Now here's examples of my favorite kind of 2D platformers, Castlevania or Mega Man. Observe how closely the background is interactive with the foreground. The background moves only at a subtle, slower speed than the foreground, giving the illusion it's very close, and it constantly changes to work with the environment. You're outside, you're inside, now go into the basement. The background tells a story, at least if a hero goes inside the building and into the basement can be considered a story. Now with that in mind, if those two examples are the extremes, then Sonic 1 and 2 are on the Bubsy side of things, while Sonic 3 and Knuckles are more on the Mega Man side of things. The early Sonic games do a lot to disconnect the realistic looking backgrounds from the level itself. By color use, notice the colors of the backgrounds are often contrasting with the level tiles in the early games, while more harmonious in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Compare the mountain range in Sonic 3 with the hills continuing the same color with the grass Sonic's walking on, creating a connection, or the mountain range in Sonic 2 where the background mountains have a different color and there's clouds separating the two. And there's all kinds of weird stuff happening in these games that makes the backgrounds really alien and weird. Like in Aquatic Ruins, the background is moving faster than the foreground, suggesting that what's behind Sonic is closer to us than Sonic himself, which is physically impossible, and my brain! And am I the only one who's weirded out by the stars in Casino Night? They move faster than the skyscrapers, suggesting they're closer to Sonic than the city's in, or is it like a ceiling? Is there a star ceiling? Is the city inside a building? I know, nitpicking, Sonic 2 is a good game, but these graphical things, they do things to my brain, creating an outworldly environment. The backgrounds in Sonic 3 and Knuckles are much more connected to the level design itself, reacting to events happening, going outside, inside. Backgrounds in Sonic 1 and 2 seem very distant, almost like an entirely different environment. The flower beds in Sonic 2 have almost no connection with the level structure, suggesting the level structure is surrounded by empty space rather than being part of a solid environment. The level layouts are disconnected from the environment and therefore get more focus as how the world is supposed to be. Whereas Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the backgrounds and level layouts are one, and therefore come across as much more subdued and solid. But keep in mind, it's not entirely black and white. Sonic 1 has examples of interactive environments, Sonic 3 and Knuckles of abstract environments. They're not each other's polar opposites, just more subtle steps toward the other direction. But yeah, going through Angel Island, I can imagine it as a three-dimensional environment with a beach strip and everything. So translate that to 3D, and Sonic Adventure is much more like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where the level layout and environment structure is one whole, where in Sonic Heroes, but especially Sonic Lost World, it emulates the disconnection of the first few games by having the environment to be far away in the distance. So recreating a more alien feel of Sonic 1 and 2.
All good points, but yeah, whatever. I appreciate it looking more alien as long as they aren't showing off how amazing Sonic would look like if he was walking down my street. What are you doing out there? Go, shoot, get out. See, with Sonic Lost World, it looks more like a modernized Sonic 1 kind of game. It kind of gives you the idea of like how Sonic 1 could have looked like in modern days and give it a warped sense of design.
Yes, game reminds you of the Mega Drive games. So here's my second point, about visual trickery.
Rog, I want to say this.
Oh, Luke, you're here. Yeah, sure.
Oh, right, you're sick. Maybe I should do something again.
There's this idea we had that Sonic Lost World deliberately uses a few elements from the old Mega Drive games,
Genesis for Americans,
in order to trick you into thinking that this game that's nothing like a Sonic game is still somehow a Sonic game. See, the thing is, Rog has deep suspicions that a lot of people who claim they only love the classic Sonic games have never really played them that much, especially considering they seem to think Sonic games were nothing but green hill zones and happy colourful fields of surreal grass, even though those games have tons of also more hardcore material.
But there's plenty of those still in this game.
Very brief bits, yeah, I guess.
Look, there's a volcano and barren wasteland at the last section of the game for your enjoyment. Why are you telling me a raging volcano is also happy and harmless?
Yes, well, I agree I was impressed by the volcano, but mostly because I was literally expecting the final stage to look like this, or this, or this.
Shut up, Rog! So we had a thought that most people had a NES and Super Nintendo, and most of their platform game experience come from Mario, Kirby and Yoshi games, but have played the classic Sonic games for an hour at a friend's house, and therefore have a few vague recollections of Emerald Hill Zone, but not much else, and their memories of what Sonic games should be got melted and combined with their memories of other platform games. So Sonic Lost World throws in a ton of imagery from the old Mega Drive and Sonic CD Sonic games in your face, with the badniks and animations, then acts like a typical generic platformer, with pushing balls and climbing walls and owl and wisp gimmicks. So you get a general sense of nostalgia for platform games in general. But because of the Mega Drive game imagery, you are tricked into thinking all these memories are about Sonic in general, not platform games in general.
Oh, interesting conspiracy theory, boys. Please tell me you also think those people were also responsible for the lunar landings.
It's just a theory.
Trust me, I know my Sega and definitely finished the Mega Drive games. I'm a doctor.
Alright, right. Just trying to figure out where this obsession or idea that Sonic only exists with Care by Land or casinos comes from. If Shadow 06 went too far into the Scrap Brain Zone direction, Lost World went equally too far in the other direction. I'm missing a middle ground here. It's either My Little Ponies or Call of Duty, apparently. Though Sonic Team used to have this neat fairy tale techno dream world aesthetic, bridging the two going on in the past. And in Sonic Colors, kinda.
Sonic Lost World was in different planets, so they had to be more fantastical with their approach. That makes these games so wonderful. It gives them a really alien feel to them. Really feel like you're on an alien planet or some cartoon world. Again, Cartoon Hedgehog, Cartoon World makes sense.
Right, but you have cartoon, and cartoon, and cartoon, and random shapes and colors. Though yeah, that brings us to Sonic Boom, the new upcoming game, which does a wonderful job in uniting the adventure crowd with the Lost World crowd and getting both in arms against it, despite the fact it follows my advice and preferred direction. Middle ground, a little too middle ground. So thanks Sonic Boom for demonstrating how somehow every time I think I have an idea how Sonic could work better, Sega manages to utterly destroy my arguments by doing exactly what I want. So, us arguing for or against Lost World is eclipsed now with the upcoming storm against Sonic Boom.
The return of the Sonic Cycle, which I think is ridiculous.
Return of the Sonic cycle indeed. At least as a proper Sonic fan, you're supposed to hate every game again.
Nah, not really hate them.
More that they're always this close to perfection, but just fail the mark.
The 3D games anyway. Quest for the perfect adaptation of the 3D incarnation of the 2D classics.
Sonic Adventure is stiff and clunky, but works as a vision. It's just a launch game.
Yeah, if that's a first try, imagine the future games.
Adventure 2 perfects the Sonic gameplay, but loses a bit of the freedom and Sonic gameplay balance. Sonic Heroes returns to more freedom and Sonic gameplay, but is now distracted by having 3 characters at the same time. Shadow removes that, but it's now distracted by missions.
And Sonic 06 is, unfinished.
Sonic Unleashed is finally a polished game and finally brings the fun and excitement of Sonic back, but now loses freedom and platform elements again.
Sonic Colors returns to freedom and the platform elements, but is now distracted by Wisp gimmicks, not to mention I refuse to call it a 3D game.
And then Sonic Generations finally gets there. It's so close. I could just smell the perfect Sonic game. It's right there. Speed and quick reactions for Unleashed, sense of optimal freedom for Adventure 1, platforming, colours, atmosphere, everything.
But Generations misses an identity and is mostly recycled content. Fun is a celebration break, but it's missing the oomph, the pow, the spectacle of a true adventure.
Alright, so take Sonic Generations, then add the production values of Unleashed, who had a theme song, an energy, and a vision.
Add some of Sonic Colors' visual flair.
Those combined, and we're this close to the perfect Sonic game. And now the next game is coming, and it's
Sonic Team being distracted again and becoming obsessed with cylinders and wisps and Mario. But hey, now it's Sonic Boom! And, it's also trying to be unique and adding gimmicks and losing focus.
Well, that's your problem right there. You have an agenda. The quest for the holy ultimate Sonic game. That's why you're hard on poor Sonic Lost World. They're trying to do something new, make sure the Sonic series doesn't become stale.
Sonic games don't have a problem of becoming stale, because every game has its unique disaster distracting us.
Yeah, we can get tired of the Sonic formula if we haven't had a real Sonic formula game yet. It's not like Mario has 5 million incarnations of the same perfect flawless game. There's always something weird mudding up the experience.
Think of the poor programmers. They must be getting sick of trying to shoot for the same goal over and over again. Don't do something new. Stretch their legs, recharge their creativity and inner spark. And just for one game, I'm sure the next game will be something else once again.
Yeah, add more swords and guns to Sonic.
Well, electric beams and labyrinth skill-based level design more likely. Done by new programming teams, who shouldn't be tired of regular Sonic yet since they haven't done anything like that yet. But right, haven't played the Sonic Boom games yet. Maybe Sonic Boom gets a Sonic formula right, and their added improvements are little subtle touches, giving it new life. Anyway, yeah, being a Sonic fan sometimes feels like being a dog trainer, teaching it a trick, but it constantly gets distracted and runs off. Yes, good boy, almost there. No, bad boy, come back here. It's a bit frustrating. Not hate, just hard training and stuff, yeah.
I don't know.
What's weird? I think Sonic Boom's graphics are boring because, with American game design, they prefer to a more have a more washed out color palette. Like there's one main ruling color and everything else has the same color, like or a gray or dull non-threatening color. It's an art rule, I think, for movies though. You know, with Sonic you're used to a little more contrasting colors, so I think that's what makes it dull. Except Sonic 3 and Knuckles also has that a little, and I like those graphics. I don't know, it's a thing, something.
Oh yeah,
No.
it is a bit different, isn't it?
No.
What am I even talking about? Well, to be honest, Sonic Boom does look like a Ratchet and Clank game with Sonic in it, but it is a different continuity and everything, and it's totally, completely different, so I don't know.
Yeah, true. It's a new continuity. New continuities don't need to attract people, I guess.
I'd say it's more like a mix of Sonic Heroes and Sonic Colors. It's like still kind of realistic textures here and there, but just a tiny bit out there in terms of look and style.
Oh, really? You think Boom is more outlandish than Heroes? Ah.
So I don't know. Different Sonic take. It's like could have done better, but I wouldn't know until I play more of the game. It is supposed to give you more of an adventure kind of feel, so
Yeah, adventures are usually more subdued, that's true. Yeah.
I will say the cartoon looks more promising than the games, at least in the sense of. No, I think the backgrounds in the cartoon series are a bit different than the ones in the game, so that's like kind of weird, is it?
Oh, really?
Hmm. Still checking. Hey, I'll play with you some other time. Phew.
Hey, oi! You haven't stitched my wound yet!
Well, at least he isn't throwing rocks anymore.
Seems you'll need medical attention too now. Well, folks, goodbye again. Hey, where's my heart?